Beth invited me to speak with you guys, and I am blown away at the quality just of people in this group. My name's Andrew Darling. I'm an attorney here locally. If you guys have been following the protest much, you've probably seen my ugly mug on a post where I'm offering my services pro bono for protesters who are arrested, the peaceful protesters who are arrested for misdemeanors, county ordinance violations, or city ordinance violations. Um, I am from Orlando. Orlando's my home. I grew up near OBT and Americana. I went to Oak Ridge High School. Um, I have two biracial kids. My wife is Black. I also happen to be a candidate for Orange County Sheriff. Um, my entire platform is criminal justice reform. And if you guys can hear it in my voice, I slept about 5 hours last night, about 4.5 hours the night before. I've been at these protests as a legal observer. I've been at these protests, making sure law enforcement is doing the things that they're supposed to do and making sure that the protesters have that right and are being heard. I am blown away, not just by all of you, but by the protesters who are, I mean, I'm 35 years old and 70, 80% of them are younger than me. Um, our younger generation, I think, is going to surprise a lot of us. I want to talk briefly about my platform because to say Black Lives Matter, to continuously talk about the future and what we want to do or what we should do, and it's like something that that what was it, Mr. Neal said earlier. He's been fighting this for 50 years, and the way that I believe we change a lot of the disenfranchisement and a lot of the racial disparities that are in policing and in the criminal justice system is by changing law enforcement. And I think we do that by putting somebody in charge of law enforcement who's not a cop. Um, I'm not a cop. I'm an Army veteran. I am, like I said, a criminal defense attorney. I used to work at the public defender's office. Um, I am so proud to be from Orlando and to call this home and to have been invited to speak to all of you. And I know I'm not super motivating right now. Like, I am working my butt off. We've gotten getting close to 25 cases from the protests that I just hired 12 interns today. I'm going to train them tomorrow, and we're going to be able to start working like a machine to represent these folks because being out and being present in a place is not a crime. It's not. And we often criminalize poverty and homelessness, and we do this regularly. And what I want to tell y'all is, for me, this is not a couple plans. This is not an incremental step. This is fundamentally changing the criminal justice system from its very foundation. I'm going to continue to work in my capacity as an attorney. I'm going to continue to work at these rallies, at these protests, as a legal observer. I'm going to continue to hold Sheriff Mina's feet to the fire and make sure that this 30-year abuser of Black and Brown communities is finally kicked out of office and finally told to go home. When him and the OPD chief, Chief Roland, did that made for camera kneeling in front of protesters to try to show solidarity, y'all, it's crap. Mina has showed us who he is. We can believe him. He will not hold his officers or now his deputies accountable. And it's time. You know, I know one of the young men who's in that photo. until the protest the other day. I've known him for 2 years. Until that protest the other day, he didn't even know I was an attorney, let alone I was running for sheriff, because I play basketball with him every weekend pre-coronavirus. I am part of this community. This community is incredibly important to me. How we set our future generations up for success is incredibly important to me. And the way that we do that is by ending the school to prison pipeline. It's by ending racial disparities in policing. I am so excited to continue this fight with you guys towards criminal justice reform from its very foundation. From its foundation. I am not here to make anybody who benefits from the current criminal justice system happy. A lot of people are going to lose a lot of money because of me running for sheriff, particularly in the bail bonds industry. Because if we don't arrest people, they don't have to bail out of jail. If we have a policy that I will implement that for misdemeanors, the policy is you do not arrest. That gives somebody the opportunity to keep their jobs, to keep working. Because as we all know, even before COVID, if you go to jail and you have 2 no call, no shows, you're done. Nobody's keeping you. It doesn't matter if you're in a corporate office setting or if you're working waiting tables, because that's what you do. That's your profession and you're good at it and you take pride in that. 2 no call, no shows, you're done. There's nothing you can do with that. If we stop the school to prison pipeline, we stop all of these young black and brown bodies from having records and stop eliminating them from the job market before they're even eligible to vote. Yeah, this stuff is important to me. This is personal to me. I'm gonna tell you guys one quick little story before I get out of here. I shared a story last September when I was at a panel, say with Sheriff Mina, but we were having a discussion, and the question was, what can we do to teach children about how to interact with police? And Sheriff Mina made the comment about how his kids are lucky because they had him to explain everything to them. And then it was my turn to answer. And I had no intention of sharing this story. But I said, first, categorically, I deny that we need to teach children how to interact with police. You need to teach police how to interact with children. And I told him a story about my son. In December of 2018, my son, who's an 8-year-old brown boy, he was an 8-year-old biracial child. He's 9 now. Him and his friend, who happened to be a 7-year-old biracial child, one of a handful of them out here in Winter Garden. There's a bunch of young biracial kids running around out here, and they were walking. They said they missed the bus. I don't think they missed the bus. I think they skipped the bus and they wanted to walk to school, which is a good 3-mile walk. So best of luck to them. They walked down near the Walmart gas station where we were at, where we live. It was 8:30 in the morning. Somebody called the cops on a 7 and 8-year-old brown boy in Winter Garden, and the Orange County Sheriff's Office sent 2 deputies. These deputies separated my son and his friend, put them in handcuffs, and put them in the back of police cars. And the deputy told my son he was going to prison. My son had never heard the word prison before that. And if he had, I guarantee you he didn't know what it meant. They took him to school. They took them both to school. They didn't put him in the system. There's a benefit to that. It took me about a month to calm down before I could even go up to the sheriff's office and try to figure out who it was that custodially arrested, put him in handcuffs, put him in his car, and took him to school. They wouldn't even tell me who it was. So when I told that story, of course, there were reporters there. And one of the reporters came up to me and was like, listen, that's tragic. That's traumatic. That's terrible. How can we show that that actually happened. I gave the reporter the contact information after my neighbors, who are my friends, who were the other boys' parents, gave me permission. The reporter verified that part. The reporter was able to find that there were vehicles dispatched, but somehow the sheriff's office didn't keep records of which vehicles, who was working that time, and who thought it was a good idea to put 7 and 8 year olds in handcuffs. And here's the thing that I'm going to tell you. I told Sheriff Mina this publicly in September. In November, he had to fire the deputy who snatched the young lady's hair who went to Westridge Middle School. Y'all, I grew up on Americana. That's less than 3 miles from where I used to live. I decided to get back in this race in April. A week after I did, he said he was going to change his juvenile justice policy, which is trash. We're 27 points behind the state average for giving alternatives to arrest, which is basically giving kids a ticket who are eligible for a ticket. We arrest 65% of kids who are eligible, and our murder rate's going up in Orange County. Maybe if we didn't arrest 2 out of 3 kids, maybe we'd have more time for the serious criminals. Guys, I am on social media at Reform Sheriff. Reform Sheriff. Super easy. You can search it on Facebook and it'll bring you to my page, Andrew Darling for Orange County Sheriff. Reform Sheriff on Twitter, on Instagram. My website is easy. It's just andrewdarling.com. If you want to email me, it's andrew@andrewdarling.com. When I respond, you will have my personal cell phone number. Guys, I promise you that we are the ones that have the power to change the system. We have it. I am so excited. I am so ready for the potential to finally give the folks that are in their 50s and 60s, give the folks actual results and stop talking and start doing. Guys, thank you so much. The time is now. We can't wait another election. We can't wait another 2 years or 4 years. The time is now. Thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate it. I appreciate each and every last one of y'all. And I'm here to fight with you and fight for you. And I hope you'll do the same for me. Thank you so much. Y'all have a great evening.